Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm doing a pen review of the Lamy Aion. This is a pen that came out last year and is a completely new, fresh design from Lamy. We'll take a look at it in more detail, of course, and I'll do a writing sample, and then we'll have a bit of a discussion about what I think about the pen. Here we have the Lamy Aion. Now this was a new design from Lamy in 2017, which is really great because it's not often that we get complete new redesigns from a brand like Lamy, who are used to doing sort of more limited or special editions of pens they already have in their lineup, like the Safari, the All-Star, and of course things like the Studio, and occasionally, to mark the anniversary of the pen, the Lamy 2000. But in 2017 they came out with this pen, the Aion. Basically, it is an aluminium pen, a good size pen, snap cap pen with a new design for the nib, which is nice. It's an inverted version of the standard nib that we are used to from Lamy, as you can see here on the Safari. You can see the difference in the shape there, which is quite great. Now, this pen is, as I said, it's not a light pen, it's not a small pen, it's got nice heft to it, which is quite nice. If we just talk about the parts of the pen, as I said, it's a snap cap, snapping onto the edge of the section there. The section is a slightly different material to the body of the pen, and it tapers quite considerably towards the end, which allows for quite a comfortable feeling in the hand. The clip is spring-loaded and is perfectly fine for for most use. It doesn't feel incredibly strong, but strong enough. The clip is also the only place on the pen where we get the branding, which says Lamy engraved there. Now, if we talk about the stats of the pen, before we get into the pros and cons, if you will, let's look at it in comparison to a couple of other Lamy pens. Firstly, a pen that it's been considered to be quite similar to is the 2000, of course, and it is a similar size. It's certainly not... It's certainly a bit bigger, and it feels bigger in the hand, but people who are saying that these two pens are basically the same obviously have not actually looked at them, because there are so many differences, and also things like the price difference, of course, and the fact that the Lamy 2000 has a gold nib and that the Aion has a steel nib. And of course you can't do a size comparison without using the Lamy Safari. So these are all a similar size pen. Lamy seems to have this sort of basic size in mind, and I think it's a really good size. If we now look at the pens uncapped, we'll see that the Aion really is quite a decent sized pen. Rolling around a bit there, that's okay. It's longer than the other two. It's also probably a little bit girthier than the other two, and it certainly feels much bigger in the hand. If we now post the pens, we see that they all come out to, once again, quite a similar length. I want to talk about the posting and capping of the Lamy Aion just for a quick second. This is before we, actually, no. Firstly, I'll just get this all done. So, the length of the pen capped is 143 millimeters, uncapped it's 137, and posted it's 162. So it is quite a long pen, and as I said, it's a big pen in the hand, which is quite nice. The weight of this pen is 33 grams, of which 21 is in the body and 12 is in the cap. And so unposted, it is very nicely balanced, with a lot of the weight sort of leading down towards the nib. And when posted, you do feel that sort of slight extra little bit of weight just on the end, but it's not. It's certainly fine for writing with posted and not too back weighted. Okay, so posting and capping of this pen, you could hear that already. Right, that's not a particularly pleasant noise, and it's not harming the pen, but it isn't pleasant. And capping, you get that same sort of steel on steel sort of noise. It does click nice and a slightly sort of satisfying click when you cap it, sorry, but it is quite loose in the cap. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear that, but I find that to be a problem, and it seems to be getting worse. The more I cap and uncap the pen for use, it feels like it's sort of getting looser. There's an actual give in the pen. Now, I've not noticed it making the pen dry out or anything like that, so it's not necessarily a seal issue, but it is a pain and something that I don't particularly like, and it's not a great tolerance on a pen that you expect from Lamy. One thing I forgot to mention about this pen, I'll just slip it in here, is that this is a Cartridge Converter pen. Now this takes the Z27 converter, not the usual one that comes with the Lamy Safari or All-Star. It doesn't have the little notches, and it goes into the metal section there. So the pen doesn't come with one of these when you purchase it from most sellers, so you do have to add this. Yeah, I always get them for my Lamy pens. I find that it is a much sort of preferred way of filling than using the cartridges. What is a pen designed to do? A pen is designed to write. So let's see how that goes. Here I have a standard Rhodia 80-gram dot pad. I'll write with this unposted. Now I have this inked with Pilot Iroshizuku Ku-jaku, which is a lovely, lovely ink, and a really lovely sort of vibrant, sort of tealy turquoise colour, and one that I really, really like. So we have here the Lamy Aion. This is a broad. I have had a few slight skipping issues with this nib, but I also have them sort of on a regular basis with the Lamy broad nibs anyway. I'm not sure if it's an over smoothing issue or what the issue really is, but every now and again you do get a little bit of a skip or a slight hard start. I said the ink is Pilot Iroshizuku Ku-jaku. So this pen is relatively smooth. There's a bit of feedback on it, but you know, I think in comparison to other Lamy nibs, it's not too bad. I found a couple of broads with the Lamy Safari that are slightly smoother than this. But as is normal, it's a sort of a medium wetness pen. It's certainly not the wettest pen on the market, but it's wet enough to get lovely shading from the ink and to put a nice line down on the page. Just for comparison's sake, actually, I'll just quickly do, so this is the wetness with the Aion, and here I have the 2000, which is a medium nib. I've inked this with Lamy Dark Lilac. And for me, that's a much wetter nib. And yes, it is a gold nib as opposed to the steel nib, but it gives a good sense of sort of how wet or not wet this pen is. Just a couple of other basic little tests. We've got reverse writing. It's pretty scratchy. Does put down a decent sort of very fine line. Perfectly capable of doing that if you needed to. Line variation, yeah, you don't even, you can squeeze a tiniest bit out, but it's not something I would do with these pens. These pens write very well under their own sort of standard nib variation. So here, and just for the sake of the exercise, writing under its own weight. Takes a second to sort of get going occasionally, but it's not. This is applying no sort of pressure. Once it's going, it's quite fine, but getting it started in that sense, it does take just a little bit of effort occasionally. So this pen retails for, well, the MSRP price is about $85 to $90 American. It costs a little bit more here in Australia, of course. Retailing around 72 American on most online retailers, which puts it a considerable amount higher than things like the All-Star. So it is a more expensive pen, but it is a more unique design, and as I said, it was a new design for 2017. So other than the lid issues, it's a smooth enough pen, it's a medium wet broad, and it writes reasonably well. It's a very professional looking pen. It's a sort of a standard black and chrome pen, and not particularly inventive. I think Lamy have been a little less inventive in a lot of their both their color choices for things like the giving an all black safari for the this year's pen, and then coming out with pens like this as their new designs. I think they could afford to start to think outside the box. The pens write so well, yet there are other pen brands pushing the boundaries in terms of what is actually on the market and what they're producing. So I think Lamy can start to think outside the square a little bit. So that's the Lamy Aion. Now, there's lots about this pen to really like. There's also things about this pen that clearly bug me. How loose it is in the cap, that sort of rattling noise, that is a little bit unfortunate. How the converter seats in the pen is also a little bit unfortunate. But the pen writes really well. Being able to swap the nibs for other Lamy nibs, the ones that come on the Safari and All-Star line, is handy if you want sort of a extra line variation. But it's a nice pen. It sits nicely in the hand. It's got good weight. Is it worth the money? I'm not entirely sure. I think for me, I would prefer to spend a little bit more, yes, considerably more, almost double, and get the Lamy 2000. The nib on the Lamy 2000, I think, is a better nib. I think the way the pen writes is better. It sits in the hand just ever so slightly more elegantly. I wouldn't say this pen is clumsy, but it is not as refined as the Lamy 2000. It's a lot more refined than, say, the Safari and the All-Star in a lot of ways, but you are paying a much bigger price for this pen than you do for the Lamy Safari and All-Star. So if you're a Lamy collector like I am, get one. It's nice pen to have in the collection. The stainless steel version, or whatever the other material is a really nice looking pen as well. I chose the black because I like the classy, sort of elegant, classic look of the black. But it's a nice enough pen. It's not a pen that is in high rotation in my collection, but whenever I do write with it, I'm more than happy with the experience. So that was the Lamy Aion. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you'd like to stay up to date with the videos that I produce, and please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below, or comment on any of my videos here. I'd love to hear from you. I'm on Instagram. I am at @the_offstage_me, so I'd love to see what you're up to over there. And in the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you later.